Alex, back from Board Game Co. and today I'm going to be reviewing Rolling Deep, designed by Peter Hayward and put out by Bitewing Games. And this is going to be a bit of a story review. We're going to be talking about the game, my rating, my review, all thoughts and opinions, of course, but it's going to be a bit of a story time and kind of walking you through my thought process as we go through this. But before we do, this is a prototype, all rules and components subject to change, and I'll have a link to the crowdfunding campaign down below, and that prototype thing is real and will factor into the experience I had, because some of the notes I've had along the way, I've gotten feedback already, not feedback, I've gotten like replies, that's already changed since the prototype you've played. So that will factor into things, but we'll talk about all of that soon. But before we do, let's start off with the story time part of things, because I just came back from Origins Game Fair, where I was asked, in front of the Bitewing Games crew, mind you, I was asked, do I prefer Enchanted Deep, or Enchanted Ivy, or Rolling Deep? And this is asked me because I love Enchanted Ivy, by the way. This is a good time to shout out our channel sponsor. AllPlay is a channel sponsor, and as soon as an Enchanted Ivy is available, which I believe is Gen Con, I highly encourage you picking it up, because Enchanted Ivy is a 5 out of 5 game for me. I love it, I adore it, I cannot get enough of it, and so I was asked, in front of Bitewing Games, do I prefer Enchanted Ivy or Rolling Deep? And I said, without pausing mind you, that I prefer Enchanted Ivy. And the reason is because Enchanted Ivy is an easy 5 out of 5, and at the time, I had not yet decided whether Rolling Deep was a 5 or 4.5 out of 5. It was one of the two, and figuring out which one it is has been a process. I have figured it out, and we'll get to that in the video, but there's nuance to which rating I chose and why. But I guess take away whatever point you want from here. Enchanted Ivy is great, so is Rolling Deep. Let's talk more about the game. So first of all, I do have a gameplay on the channel. You can check that out if you want to see a gameplay, me going through the game. This is a solo game, and it's a solo game, which the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and look at the chapter goal over here. I want to achieve 6. So over here, I have my marker, 6. We're going to choose a boss for the round. That's my boss. I can ignore abilities that cost 3 or less, but that's not going to be relevant yet. And I'm going to go ahead and roll these dice because I have 3 rolls. We'll flip that. That's roll 1. I moved up 2. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and do a second roll over here. Keep in mind, I have 3 rolls to reach to 6 over here. Roll 2, we got a 1 over here. Okay, not the best, but I still have 1 more roll to try to make my way to getting towards 6. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this. Although, you know what? I will go ahead. We're not going to do any re-rolls yet. We're going to go ahead and roll that. We got a 1. We're going to roll that. We got a 0. We're going to roll that. We got a 0. Now, this is a problem because that's only going to get us to over there. So what options do we have? Let's go ahead and spend a potion to re-roll. You can spend a potion to re-roll a die. I'm going to roll that one, and I got a 2. Boom, over there. I got to there, and now I made it to 6, which means I've completed the first round. That's basically what you're doing. Now, dice will often have things on them. In this case, I will actually get a potion back because that's the die face over here, the die face over there. Also note that it costs you additional potions to keep re-rolling. Your first re-roll on each roll costs 1, your second costs 2, your third costs 3, and you can keep paying 3 potions as long as you want, but you will run out of potions sooner or later. I also do have this get out of jail free card. I can add 5 to my score at any point, shooting me from wherever I went. Let's say I only made my way to 5 over there. I could have jumped to 10 and 1, but then this scroll is gone and I can't keep using it, so save it and use it wisely whenever you have a chance to do so, because, you know, if you use it too early, you might need it later on and not have it. When you're done with all of that, you're going to go through the end of round steps, which involve gaining interest for the money and potions you have. I won't heavily get into it, but basically potions give you money, and money give you potions. You choose which one you want to gain, and then weigh that up. And then you're going to go ahead and gain money as well for the round you're in. I'm going to get $3 over there. And then you can go ahead and have a shop phase where you could spend your money drawing cards to possibly go ahead and adjust things in the game. Because you have a variety of different types of things. You actually have 3 of these types right here. This is going to be a one-time ability. You pay the cost, and then you go ahead and gain mushrooms on row 2, 3 over there. Those are going to be helpful because mushrooms will add to your score each round, but you will have to remove them as you score them. Or I can go ahead and buy this. This adds mushrooms to this row whenever all 3 dice face are the same. So I can put this into any row, and whenever all 3 dice face are the same, I would go ahead and score that. It doesn't matter if I score this row or not. I could row 3 zeros, and 3 zeros would make this row gain mushrooms. Or I could gain this over here. This over here is going to give me +1 per 3 potions. It's going to cost me 7, and it'll activate whenever I score this row. Pickaxes score all the time, and wands only score when you enact that row's ability, which means if I score a 2 to 3, I would activate that wand, gaining +1 to my die roll for every 3 potions I have. But then the last phase that's very important to show you over here are going to be dice modifiers. For example, that face over here I can pay 2 for that one right now, and then I can go ahead to this tray full of faces over here, find a 2, and then I can replace, because it's a purple card, I'd find my purple die, and I'd go ahead and pry off that 0. You can pick whatever you want, but I'm going to pick the 0. I'm going to put the 2 on it, and now I have a higher chance of rolling a better die, and slowly throughout the game, you'll be crafting better and better dice. Now, it's also worth noting, especially if you watch my playthrough, a lot of people are like, you never refresh the market. You missed the fact that you could refresh the market, because you could spend money to refresh the market of cards and not be stuck with the cards you just drew. I did mention that at the end of the video. I just didn't use it most of the time. I find I need that a lot more when playing on advanced mode. On basic mode, I'm kind of trying to conserve my money because I like the interest I get from it. But you could pay to refresh the market. That's kind of the general idea. Now, every third round, you're going to have a boss round. In a boss round, you enact the boss's ability, which for the first 4 bosses will be the blue ability. If you are playing the 5th chapter over here, and you're trying to get to 50, keep in mind, there will be a point in the game where you're trying to get to 50 over here, then you're going to activate the red boss ability, which is going to be stronger and make your life a lot harder while attempting to deal with that boss. That's the basic arc of the game. You're going to have 5 chapters. Each chapter has 3 rounds. Each round has 3 dice rolls. That is, unless you get various abilities that will add more time, so you can actually have more dice rolls as you go. Throughout those rounds, you're going to be earning more money. You're going to be earning treasure cards over here whenever you, right before the boss round. When you win the boss round, you'll get a treasure card as well. A variety of upgrades as you slowly try to build up your abilities so you can outpace the opponents. If by now you saw the patterns over here, or probably I put it in the title or thumbnail, this is very Balatro adjacent. If you've played Balatro, which I have played a lot of Balatro, you'll notice that general arc. You have 3 rolls, or hands. In Balatro, it's going to be hands. And you're trying to get your hands to score high enough to hit that threshold before building up and improving your deck, or in this case your die, in order to beat a higher threshold and eventually take on various bosses at the end of every 3 cycles. The general arc is very similar, and the feeling for better, possibly for worse as well, I don't know because I love Balatro, but the feeling for better is very much Balatro adjacent in a tabletop game. I'll also say, as someone who is very skeptical of dice faces, because I've played a variety of games over the years, the dice faces over here are amazing. They clip on and off very easily, making your life much easier than any other dice face I've ever played in any game. They're a delight to utilize. They are large and chunky, larger and chunkier than I was expecting when I first got the game. I've seen a lot of comments on my playthrough video talking about the size of the dice tower, and it's scaring them off. Not once has this been a problem for me, although my real problem with the dice tower is the fact that it doesn't fit in the box unless I disassemble it, and disassembling is not a big deal. You just do that, without the dice over there. But nonetheless, that's my biggest issue with it. I don't know what the final dice tower will look like, or the component quality. Again, prototype. I assume it'll be similar to this, but who knows. And also check out the campaign page for anything in the deluxe or other versions of the game. At this point, I've gone over the game. Let's talk more about my thoughts, aside from the thoughts you got on the dice tower. So, I love this game. I love this game so far. I've played this game a lot by now. One thing I didn't talk about is you do have this kind of thing over here. When you win a game, you unlock this box. I will not be telling you what's in this box, but there's things in the box. There's more stuff for the game than what you saw in my playthrough or what you just see. There's things. You could interpret whatever things. Check out the campaign page. I don't know what I'm allowed to reveal, so I won't say anything to reveal. I'll just say there's things in the box that you can add to your experience for the game. And so this review won't touch upon those things because I have to avoid that, but I can still give you my thoughts on the game without getting into those things. Balatro is addictive. So is Rolling Deep. The general idea of the game of trying to roll to work your way towards getting that score is a challenge. I did not win my first game. I won my second game. I've won probably around 70% of my games on standard mode. And then on advanced mode, where you basically have higher thresholds, if you're wondering why is there 60 when the highest you saw is 50, is because on advanced mode, you're playing for higher thresholds. You start off higher and you work your way faster through it. And it's much more challenging because that arc, once you level up, once you have an engine going, it can be a little easier, but especially early game, it can be very challenging. I've only played one advanced game, and I've played advanced maybe 5 or 6 times alone, and I've played the basic mode even more than that. This is an incredibly addictive, incredibly a fun game that I've been having an absolute blast with. I don't know how to best describe the pros of this game other than to say, if you like Balatro, I think you will like Rolling Deep. Granted, with the caveat that maybe you're not into the physical aspect of what a game does. Maybe you just don't like the maintenance or the math. But this game really does do an excellent job of making that feeling present accessible, not making it overly challenging as far as math, making the game very straightforward. The actual rules are very solid, very straightforward. There's a whole whole row, we didn't really get into it, but your rows over here are going to be storing various upgrades. So you have a limited tier of upgrades as you attempt to figure out, similar to, again, the Jokers and Balatro, there's only so much you can do. You can build your deck or your dice, and you can build your upgrades or your Jokers. The arc of it all is very reminiscent and very similar, but the fun of upgrading something to achieve the next level is so addictive. That first roll, you feel like you're lucky to even get to 6. You saw it happen. I had to do a reroll to get to 6. It managed to work, but it doesn't always work. And so the idea that you can build up a system that gets you to 50, that's insane. It's insane that you can do it, but you sure enough can do it as you play through the game. And so the whole deck full of a variety of upgrades, tons of different dice bases, tons of abilities, all that interact or combine to make you feel more powerful as you chase higher and higher numbers. It hooks you. And it gives it to you in like a 45-minute experience or so. Box is 45 minutes. I didn't even know what the box said, but it does feel like a 45-minute game. I mean, granted, that's if you win or make your way to the end. If you lose, I have lost this game plenty of times in 10 minutes or less, because I don't like, if you're going to have to burn this on your first roll, just start again and reset. I do find that more often than not, if I have to use this, I am using it earlier in the game rather than later, because later I usually have an engine that's already working, or I've already died. But the first roll, if I lose in the first roll, I'm just restarting, and then maybe that's how I have so many long plays of this game, because I lost a lot in the first roll. But honestly, that's more in advance, and really not. I find in advance, I often lose on the first cycle, the first chapter, but not the first roll. Longer story, but my experience with the game. Everything in this works beautifully. There are small nitpicks, and a lot of those nitpicks are things that I experienced in the prototype. If you watch my playthrough, I mentioned that I want the bosses to have names and character. Turns out that's something they're already adding. I mentioned the idea of the game having no limit on the interest you can earn, which is something that Balatro does. But turns out there's component limits that are not present in my prototype. They've been playtesting a lot and adjusting the component limitations you have, so you can't have these infinite interest engines. I mentioned that I mentioned to the designer of the game that I wanted the pace of... this is tricky. I can't talk about things that are not in the box. I wanted some aspect of the things in the box to be a little different. I don't know what I'm allowed to say, so I'm just going to be a little vague here. And they talked about how they are already aware of that and working on that. And so there's one thing about the stuff in the box that I wanted marginally different, and they are working on that. So it's like it's a notes that I have. I guess for the most part, I would say the notes that I have had are things that are already in progress. But even if you ignore all of those notes, I have still had an absolute ton of fun with this game. The one criticism that I would really give, again, past an aspect of the box, I'd give a minor criticism about the aspect of the box and stuff in it, and then I'd give an alternative minor criticism that advanced mode does feel a lot more luck dependent in the early game. Like if you're playing on advanced, I feel you just really have to have a good sequence. Again, when I play the basic game, I win 70% of the time. The advanced mode, I've played like 6 or 7 times until eventually I just managed to win, but each time I was like, lose. Okay, I broke past, and now I'm able to actually get towards my victory. That one does feel like there's more of an element of luck, and I don't know how to fix that. I want to feel like I'm being challenged. It's called advanced mode for a reason, but I also want to feel like it's not just about powering through multiple bad rolls until I get to an arc where I can now take off. And that's what advanced mode has felt like to me. So if you're looking for a criticism, that's what I would say is a criticism, that advanced mode currently feels like I have to power past enough bad rolls until I get my smooth start, and then from there I can take off. I don't know if it's about strategy. I just think the earlier thresholds are just hard to reach. But my biggest thing, because this is where we're going to talk about ratings, because my rating for this game, I can't even just say a straight number. I'll say that on paper, I have a database. I'm putting things on paper. I have a database where I store my ratings. I'm going to be putting a 4.5 for this game on paper. But if I'm rating the experience I'm having with it right now, the experience I'm having with it right now is absolutely a 5 out of 5. I have been having so much fun with this. I have played this a ton over the 2 weeks that I've had it, and I am happy to dive back into it again. I have sat over someone's shoulder watching them play because it's that fun to just get it going. Again, if you've seen Balatro in action, it is fun even watching other people play the game and getting their combos moving, and then talking about the upgrades you would want and how you'd want to approach it. It is a fun system with a lot of cards to it that make the experience very I was going to say gravitating, that's the wrong word, gratifying. It's a gratifying experience. The reason it's getting a 4.5 is not necessarily a commentary on the game itself, it's also the same way I feel about Balatro. When I play Balatro is a game that I play it to win it, then I try various difficulty adjustments to it, or I add a different deck or whatnot. Again, if you play Balatro, you can choose a different deck, you can choose modifiers, and then you just power through it until eventually I've played it enough that I feel I've done it, and then I put it away for 6 months until eventually I come back and get back into the Balatro cycle. Currently, by the way, I am in the middle, as we speak, of one of my Balatro cycles, where I'm enjoying it again until I'll get bored, put it away, and come back to it. And I do think this board game has the same kind of aspects to it. This isn't a game where I'm playing through a bunch of scenarios. I mentioned Enchanted Ivy earlier. One of the things I love in Enchanted Ivy is every scenario is its own little puzzle within the same system. When I play through Rolling Deep over here, it feels more like Balatro. It's all the same puzzle with a minor adjustment to like difficulty and things you're doing. The puzzle ultimately is the same, and so I don't feel like I'm constantly approaching. Like with Enchanted Ivy, just keep making more scenarios, I'll keep playing the game. I don't know how you can realistically super change up the scenario feeling of Rolling Deep. And so I feel this is going to be very reminiscent of Balatro. I will play it until it's not fun, until I feel I've mastered it and I've seen it, and then I'll put it away. And then from there, when does it come out next? I don't know. It is different than a game in my Steam library. A game in my Steam library I can forget about for a year and a half until I come back to it, and then just start playing it again. Whenever I play roguelike, Slay the Spire, Hades, Balatro, those are all games that I play until I don't, and then I come back later and pick up again, and I just go through a cycle of enjoying them. Monster Train, there's so many of these. But with a game that takes up physical space on the shelf, it is a different vibe. Will this go on the shelf if I don't play it for a year after I've gone through it? I'm not done yet, by the way. I still have more stuff I want to do. Again, some things talk about the box. I can't get into that. There's still more things I want to do. But when I get to the point where I'm ready to put it away, what will happen to it then? And I don't know the answer. I think I enjoy it enough that it will stay on the shelf, but I also just don't know. And so my current experience, where I am right now with the game, is it's still a 5 out of 5. If I'm ranking enjoyment levels, if you look at my ratings, always happy to play, all that, it's there. But I also know, based on the type of experience I'm getting out of it, that it's going to be that until it isn't, and then what happens next, I don't know. That's why it requires, like, a whole explanation as to the rating of this and where it is. But if you like Balatro, I highly recommend picking up Rolling Deep. If you are interested in a solo game that's going to challenge you, I highly recommend picking up Rolling Deep. My daughter is beyond into this. She's like obsessed with it as well. I showed it to her, and then she proceeded to play a whole game, and then proceeded to play until she wanted to play standard. Then she got frustrated with standard, and right now she's a little bit on the downs with this one. But like, this is a game, she's not a Balatro person. She's not someone who's played that game before, and I want to show her Balatro, but I have not yet, and she loves Rolling Deep. So overall, I'm going to give this a 4.5 out of 5 with a lot of layered explanations as well as to my current feelings about it as well. And that's my review of Rolling Deep from Bitewing Games. With that, if you want other game recommendations, I mentioned it a bunch already, but Enchanted Ivy is definitely a game system that I recommend if you're looking for just one of my favorite solo games. One of my favorite, possibly my favorite, I don't know yet. I need to rank my favorite solo games and go from there. And if you want a game that gives you a similar vibe while not being this, but being adjacent-ish, I highly recommend Under Falling Skies from CGE, another game that I thoroughly enjoyed for a long time. That was my collection for like 5-6 years. I loved Under Falling Skies, and it does have the same challenge feeling and the dice manipulation while being a very different engine. In any case, until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. Hope you found this video helpful, and as always, I hope you have a good one.